Well, it is finally my favorite time of year. Spring is finally here, and we all can tell that it's here because there's pollen everywhere. I woke up this morning and everything was green, and there was so much pollen that when it started raining, all of the puddles were yellow. Super disgusting. My nose is killing me. But with the spring weather comes spring projects. And today we have ourselves another question from a viewer, and I think it's fun to take these questions, answer them for you, but also give a little bit more practical examples of why some of these issues might happen to you and how do you avoid them. So today, let's go ahead and read the question and dive right into it. So today's question comes from our good friend Need to Speed 06. Appreciate all of your content, very informative. This is an off-topic septic question, but I wanted to ask you, I have two trees that are pretty close to my septic tank and hang over the field, and I want to get them removed. Would grinding the stumps that close to a tank disrupt anything? I also don't want the trees dropped onto the fields in case it damages the drain pipes. So this is a great question and definitely something I get asked all the time. So let's go ahead, hop into what happens when you're removing a tree. So a few years ago, I had a tree at my house removed. I actually had two of them taken out. They were two big 60-foot oaks. They were easily 3 feet in diameter both. Now, these particular trees were actually about 10 to 15 feet from my home, so that's why I was getting rid of them. They were way too close, and every time that it rained or any kind of weird storm came through, it was just smacking the side of my house, and I was super concerned that it was going to go through the home. Fortunately for me, it wasn't over my sewer, so I didn't have to worry about that as much. But in your circumstance, if you're removing a tree, the big thing you have to realize is that a lot of times they're going to have big equipment around the tree. So if you're, at least when they did it at my house, how they did it was they sent one really tiny skinny guy, sent him up the tree with a chainsaw, and they had a little crane that they would attach all the pieces of tree to, and then they would lower it down and move it. So if your particular property has that situation where they got to send a little guy up the tree and have a crane kind of help hoist things down, put the crane on the other side of the tree. Those things are heavy, right? Most septic systems, you don't want to really get too much weight on top of them. Generally, at least from what I've been told from manufacturers, the most amount of weight you want to have is about 8,000 pounds. Now you got to also think in the dirt. The dirt's heavy. So if you've got a foot and some change of dirt on top of your tank, plus you put a crane, the crane's probably going to go through it. I've had plenty of houses where somebody's put something really heavy over a tank, a dry well, distribution box, whatever, and that heavy object has gone through it. Usually it ends up being cranes, so that's why I bring this to your attention. So if you have your tree and they're using a heavy piece of equipment, put it on the opposite side of your septic. If you don't know where all of the pieces for the septic are, it may be worth a few $100 to have somebody come and mark all of the lines for you, so that way you know exactly where to tell these guys, hey, do not park over here, do not drive over here, do not do anything on this spot right over here. Generally in our area, I would assume it's the same thing for everywhere, but if you call Miss Utility, they're only going to mark the public utilities. They won't mark your private sewer line, right? So if you have a septic system, it's considered private sewer. Same thing with your well water. Your well line is also private, so they're not going to mark it. So with your sewer, how most people will mark it is they'll usually send a camera through, and most cameras nowadays will have a little radio locator, and you can actually put exactly where the sewer pipe is, and you can mark it in increments of 5, 10 feet, whatever works for you. So you're going to want to put the crane for the tree on the opposite side of your septic. And then when they're dropping things, make sure that they're dropping it on the opposite side of the sewer or the septic. What I've seen happen when people fell trees is that they will knock the tree down, and trees are heavy, right? You don't necessarily think about it because the wind blows them all over the place, but a 60-foot tree weighs a lot. So if that tree falls and hits the ground right over top your sewer, yes, the dirt should act as a cushion, but you do run the risk of that compressive force breaking the sewer pipe and you're running into issues. I actually had this happen to one of my clients. And this is why it's really important to make sure you get a video of that sewer line before and after the repair. So this particular client wanted to buy a house. We ran the camera through the sewer, and we saw that they had some root intrusion. We had some problems. Now, they had a big tree right over top the sewer line. Makes perfect sense why the roots are there. So we could see that we had some roots, and it was terracotta clay piping, but the pipe was open, right? You could see all the way through the main sewer line. They have the tree removed. They start having backups. We go back out, investigate, try to see what's going on. I can see that there are tree bits all around, and there's huge divots in the ground. And some of the concrete slab that a shed used to be on was broken to pieces. So I asked, well, what happened? And they said, well, they felled the tree and some of it landed right here. And unfortunately, that's what led to our issues for the sewer backing up. Ran the camera back through and everything's blocked up. The camera couldn't go any further. Once you start digging it up, you see that all the clay pipe itself had just been shattered and blown to pieces. So the lesson to be learned from this guy's experience, this client of mine, is if you fell the tree on top of your sewer pipe, you can destroy it and you can have a lot of problems. So having the video before and after was able to make it where the insurance couldn't argue anything. The insurance was able to get it taken care of and fixed up for this guy in no time. Your circumstance, if you fell it the other direction, you'll probably be fine. Now, if they hit the septic tank, you run into the same issue of you might cause cracks or damage to the tank. I don't know about your area, but around here, septic tanks are easy 6 to 10K. Like, they're very expensive to put in the ground. That's why you want to make sure that you're very conscious of what you're doing. So, your other part of this question was not necessarily about the felling, but also about the stump grinding. It really depends on the depth of your sewer. So when I had my tree stumps ground, they basically only went about a foot, maybe 1.5 feet into the ground to tear up all the roots and the stump itself. Most sewers generally will be 18 inches or more in the ground. There are a few that might be a little bit more shallow, but it may not hurt to try and measure where's the pipe leaving your house, where's the pipe entering the tank, and then you can do a little bit of rough math to kind of figure out where you're at. In our area, most sewer lines usually end up being roughly around 2 foot, maybe 3 feet, depending on the depth of the system and where the basement bathroom is, and also how deep the tank is. But usually 2 or 3 feet is kind of where you're at. So most of the time, I would say that getting the stump ground, you're going to be perfectly fine. You don't have to worry about hitting anything. But before you do that, one, make sure they're insured, make sure that they know what they're doing. And also, for the third option, figure out how deep your sewer is. If you're already paying somebody to scope the line and mark the lines, almost every locator will have a depth gauge, and they should be able to at least give you an idea of how deep they think the sewer is. And then on the flag, just write 2 foot, 3 feet, 1.5 feet. Just so that way the guy who's grinding the stump knows, hey, right on this line, be careful, don't go too deep, don't hit it. If they do hit the sewer line, don't panic. Generally speaking, depending on how old your system is, most sewers are relatively straightforward to fix. You just cut the broken part out and you can glue a new piece in, or you could use a Fernco coupling to get it to make sure it's reinforced Fernco. But you could basically make it to where you could replace that section of piping without having to do the entire stretch. I know we covered a lot of ground. I hope that you found this informative. This is a long-winded way of saying be careful with taking down trees, as they do cause some problems. But don't let it scare you off of getting rid of the tree. If you're concerned about the tree, if you're concerned about it getting into your sewer, it'll be okay to get it removed. Just make sure that whoever you hire is licensed, they know what they're doing. And these guys are really good at knocking these trees down. Like, I've worked on so many properties where that guy, if you tell him you want it to go between those posts, they can darn near hit it every single time. I have seen a few properties where people have hired somebody to do tree removal and it went horribly wrong, but those people also showed up in beat up pickup trucks, had no idea what their company was called. They probably weren't licensed. They probably also hadn't been doing it for a while. So when you're doing something as dangerous as a tree removal, make sure you hire somebody who knows what's going on. Stump grinding, usually the company that does the tree removal also does the stump grinding, but your area might be a little bit different. But just be careful with how deep you go. Knowing where the sewer pipe is and knowing how deep the sewer pipe is half the battle. So as long as you're able to do both of those things, you'll be in good shape. I hope that you found this informative. I hope that you found this helpful. If you are new to this channel and somebody else is watching and maybe this helps you, please hit that like button, hit subscribe. My goal is to provide as much information as I can from my world of well and septic, from home ownership to handyman stuff to whatever I can help you learn. That's the goal. So I look forward to talking to you guys later. Remember, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Until next time.